Why 6'4"? I met Commy in Dubai and seemed like a smart dude, so I thought, why not try something new and get some input from someone else.
Felt like it was time to get myself a coach to just give me that extra push and help with the extra training, and it felt right just going with 6'4", being a Kiwi.
I choose this programming to be able to train with 6'4" Army and to push myself more.
Why 6'4" Army? The coaches there are extremely knowledgeable, and I always see positive results at the end of each training cycle.
Some people may be wondering, why are you doing an Olympic weightlifting program? Or, why 6'4" Army? Have you quit CrossFit entirely? The motivation behind why Olympic weightlifting is the 1 ton challenge really opened my eyes to just how unconditioned I was to weightlifting, and how inconsistent my technique was. Losing to Harry at specifically the Olympic lifts is my drive. Now, Harry's a very strong athlete. However, most of his training centers around powerlifting, making this an upset more than a defeat. Why 6'4" Army, you may ask? Evan puts it like being a big fish in a small sea, which is partly the reason for me, but I'm no big fish. 6'4" Army is a program where the coach actually takes the time out of his day to watch your technique. Evan talks so highly of Commy, the coach of 6'4" Army, he had no intention of getting anything out of Evan. Just the will to want Evan to succeed. When Evan was competing at Dubai, he was one of the only athletes who wasn't from a big program or didn't have a personal coach. So to have someone to go out of their way for someone who has no connections with you is just a show of character. Character that I like and I'm willing to trust. I've met Commy personally and I believe is an absolute great bloke. I still train CrossFit 4 to 5 times a week. It just depends on the volume of weightlifting. But weightlifting is fucking boring. CrossFit is what keeps me sane. My goal being on this program is to improve my overall strength and technique over the bar. It is also to have the strength to perform all CrossFit workouts RX. The benchmark for that strength is a 145 kilo clean and jerk and 120 kilo snatch, as a few CrossFit workouts have required athletes to hit these numbers. Now, I'm not just wanting to hit it once. This is going to be something that I can hit multiple times. So my overall goal for the clean and jerk will be 160 kilos, and the overall goal for the snatch will be 120. Week 1, Week 12, Week 52. This video is going to be conducted in 3 separate parts. This video showcases Week 1, where I perform a competitive style liftoff plus 1RM front squats. So I technically start the program during week 8 of the previous cycle. If you know programs, nobody in their right mind should start a program in week 8, as everything is heavy as shit. Week 11 saw a 1RM snatch, 1RM clean and jerk, and a 2RM front squat, which I PB'd my snatch at 107.5. Clean and jerked 140 kilos, and got a 2RM front squat of 150 kilos. Week 12 saw a mock competition where I had to perform 6 lifts, 3 snatch attempts, 3 clean and jerk attempts, and a 1RM front squat. Enjoy. the day of the program. Just as a little disclaimer before we start, I'm not sponsored by 6'4 Army, nor have I been asked to make this video. Just like my Absolute Beast series, I enjoy highlighting people who deserve it. Furthermore, my Olympic weightlifting is still something that I'm trying to master. So I would not use my clips as technical advice, nor would I learn directly from them. Today's video, I'm going to take you through week 2, Saturday of the program. Now, I am Tyler from the future. Saturdays for the past 5 weeks have been very similar to this one. Generally, the program will commence with some form of warm-up preparation piece into a primer. The primer is there to prime the body for a specific movement pattern that is coming up. Now, unlike CrossFit, where we warm up for 2 rounds of a 3-round warm-up, and it's called acceptable, in Olympic weightlifting, a thorough warm-up and prime of the body is necessary to get into the positions necessary to hit the lifts required, as they also reduce the chances of injury, so don't be lazy. Even though I look like a badass hauling around these chains, you might notice it and say, suspended kettlebell overhead walk, that doesn't look like a kettlebell overhead walk. The bands that we have in the gym are about as inconsistent as dog shit, so one kettlebell would be dragging along the floor like an old man's nutsack, while the other one is higher than a junkie at a Wiggles concert. So I've gone with the chains to really enhance the badass factor and also to take away the camera's looking view from my ankles and my high socks and my petite calves, or the lack of any of those.
Hey, sitting like a boss, bring the workers out. Press on the exhaust, we be skirting now. No, we not the same, what you talking about? Got me all up in your mentions, must have heard around. How that sound?
Block clean and jerks. Taking weights from the blocks is always a personal favorite of mine. I find pulling from the ground to be a much greater challenge, so to see such volume from the blocks makes me happier than a florist on Valentine's Day. I start off with a 2x2 at 78% of my 1 rep max clean and jerk. Now, even though it is a double, my rule of thumb is no more than 1 minute per rep. So if you're resting longer than a minute between reps, then this set is essentially invalid. Someone asked me what the red barbell does differently to a normal barbell, and my response is normally different depending on the day. However, currently, red bars hide blood, just as conveniently as they take your eyes away from my poor technique. I normally rest 2 to 3 minutes between sets. This really maximizes my lifting potential. It's also so I don't fail any repetitions. My training partner is unfortunately my girlfriend, and if I fail repetition, just like I did before in front of her, she gently whispers into my ear, "I didn't realize I was dating such a bitch." Or, "I'm not mad, Tyler, just disappointed." Nothing is more fucking heart-shattering than that word. Not mad, just disappointed. I'd rather take a shit in my pants and tell everyone than for someone to tell me that they're disappointed.
Man, I went from a bag to a bag to a bag.
Now, you might be wondering, why lift from the blocks? Now, essentially, lifting from the blocks and lifting from the hang is very similar. The primary difference between lifts from the hang position and lifts from the blocks is that the form of the lifter, so myself, begins with pre-tension on the muscles at the minimum or the start position. So when you're in the hang, your hamstrings, your glutes, your back will feel more tension because you're holding the bar at the top of your knees. As a consequence, lifting from the blocks is somewhat better at increasing the rate of force developed relative to the lifts from the hang. However, the primary drawback from lifting on the blocks is that the bar is supported by the blocks rather than the lifter himself supporting it in the start position. The lifter is not getting the feeling that you would normally get when you are practicing a hang clean or a hang snatch. So you're the tension on the hamstrings, the back, and the glutes all loaded up, ready to go, which more accurately represents what they feel in a classic lift from the floor. There is some drawbacks, there is some pros and cons, but the benefits of the block cleans are there, and they have a place in every lifter's training program. I just enjoy it more because I don't have to hook grip the bar and hold it at the top of my knees while my body's performing a seizure trying to hold 88 to 90% of my 1RM. Hopefully that gives you guys a little bit more insight on the block cleans, the block snap.
About the light, no more lease, we pay cash. Show up to a crib, hand the keys to a jag. That's that
So the cleans all done and dusted, guys. They were pretty tough.
especially from the blocks. I think I finished on about 123 kilos, which is about 87%. When we look at the cleans, especially when we watch my clean and jerk, you might notice that I split with both legs. Might have just shattered glass view, but I do alternate my legs. This is not a necessity. Pretty much no one does this. I just like to do it because I'm a very big symmetrical kind of guy, and from a previous injury I used to have on my wrist, I wasn't ever able to deadlift with my strong side, so I had to develop a weak side deadlift. So for all my movements, because of that injury, I developed double side, and I've just tried to keep it up, just like riding ambidextrous or learning a new language, just trying to keep it up. So that's why I've chosen that option. So they're all done and dusted. We're next gonna jump onto the jerk recoveries. Now, normally you use this with a barbell with a high rack that's about 2 inches off your max lockout. However, we don't have the facilities for that, and the area that can do it is next to a ton of gear that's very valuable. So instead, we're gonna do it from a yoke. I'm gonna do it a little bit lighter, but it still gets the same stimulus. It's just not as good. So if you definitely have the facilities, do it, but that's what we're gonna do next.
Jerk recoveries. Jerk recoveries in the lifting world is the equivalent of that douchebag at school that becomes a nice guy in his mid-20s. My perception of jerk recoveries is like unracking 120% of your 1RM back squat and just standing there with it for a certain period of time. It prepares your body to have the ability to recover a jerk at sub-maximal weight and builds stability and strength in that top position of the lift, especially in that lockout position. Now, these were supposed to be split jerks, but just like Cusco's poison, I'm being a demon llama and not splitting. Mainly because the yoke is so unstable, it feels like a 9 magnitude earthquake has begun under your feet, and I don't feel like being crushed by over 100 kilos of weight.
Had to step my game up. When you bring my name up, they gon' say I came up.
Overhead squats. Oi guys, do you want to hear something funny? No, legit. Fucking hilarious. Listen up. So look how much weight is on the bar. It says down the bottom 86 kilos on text, but I actually did 96 kilos. Now, does that make me an absolute beast? No. Did I actually plus it? Unfortunately, I wish I did. But no. So you see how the overhead squat says, based off your 1RM snatch. Well, for 3 weeks, I assumed it said 1RM overhead squat. Komi messaged me about something else, and I was kind of scared on how I was supposed to perform next week's overhead squats, which was 5 sets of 4 at 90%, which would have been like 108 kilos for me. And he's like, you know it's based off your 1RM snatch, right? My fucking heart did a 360. I was so happy. But still, I committed to 3 weeks of super heavy overhead squats. I would highly recommend reading the fucking program, guys. Don't be like me. I'm someone who's always generally struggled with overhead squats, so this is one of my Achilles heel, my weakness movement, something that I really need to work on, and I dread doing them every time. As you can see, my lockout is real sketchy, and I'm really struggling to keep that bar overhead, but I've come a long way since starting CrossFit 8 years ago, so any progression is good.
Step my game up. When you bring my name up, they gon' say I came up. They won't say I changed up. Step my game up.
Ab finisher. Finally, the accessory piece, or as 6'4 Army calls it, successories, is a posterior and ab finisher of GHDs and bicycle kicks. You know the old saying, no core, no whore, so make sure you get your ab work done. My GHD setups are CrossFit style because I still live every day for that Metcon life. This is the final piece of today, and the accessories are always my favorite. If I lived in a parallel universe, bodybuilding would always be a second life for me.
Popping off of purely penmanship. Business shit, you not a benefit. Beneficial moves, I've been a man. Shaking, moving like.
Well, I think that's all for today's program. It was a pretty damn tough day today, and that's what most Saturdays are like with those block cleans and especially the overhead squats at the moment in the current cycle we're in. We are week 2 through a 12-week cycle, and there's 4 micro cycles throughout. So I believe there will be 4 or 2 mini tests and then 1 big test at the end. Now, if you're interested in this program, this is the Olympic Weightlifting Program. There is a CrossFit program, which I'll touch on in a bit, but the Olympic Weightlifting Program goes for about 12 weeks. You get access to their Facebook page, you get access to the program, which comes out on a Sunday afternoon, which for, if you're in America, that'd be like a Saturday night or something, or Sunday morning or something like that. The program is $9.99 New Zealand per week, and you get your first week free, and there's also a free sample week, so you can pretty much essentially get 2 weeks free of the program before even starting. And if you guys are American, it's like $5 for you, because our dollar is so terrible and the New Zealand dollar is just as bad as the Australian. So you not only can buy a program for yourself, but you can get one for your friend too for the same price that I would pay for it. So that is all from the program today. If you guys enjoyed it, if you've got any comments, any thoughts, comment down below now. I hope you enjoy this type of video, and in the next 10 weeks we'll be retesting and just seeing if I can get closer or even better than those PBs. Without further ado, I hope you guys stay at peace.
Like the mini hand, beat the coochie like an hour long. Keep it lit, I keep the power on. Power up, a Super Saiyan, Superman, saving hoes, not I. Top tier, top floor, top shotter, you are not top 5. To be completely 100, these people can't keep me from coming, I'm moving now. Fuck what you doing tomorrow, if you wanna do it, I say you get